Drop a like and do share. Leave your comments and do not forget to subscribe for more videos.
Hello friends, this is Manoj Uptani. I welcome you all on behalf of the Edupedia world. It's been a fantastic day outside. I'm sure that you guys must be enjoying your life to the fullest, like as you guys. Perfect. So, that's the fourth video presentation in which I'm going to discuss with you a lot more fascinating topics with relation to the audit of members of stock exchange. All I need to ensure is that you guys must be revising your topics, guys, because that is something extremely important. And take out your time, some of your precious time, in order to ensure that you guys don't sacrifice your health as well. You need to understand that. Don't forget in that front as well. So, are you guys excited to hear some of the new fascinating topics with respect to the audit aspect? Now, so no more stock exchange thing. Now you need to get into audit. What all will be covered under these audit aspects? We'll mark the beginning with this presentation of all those coverage area. So are you guys perfect with that? Cool. Fasten up your seatbelts. We're about to take off with the first topic of the day, and that will be transaction flow of stock exchange transactions. So guys, this is basically about how a transaction basically flows in if you are effectively working with any of the stock exchange transactions. So what is the flow of that transaction? It's all about that. Number one, what's going to happen is you will get a receipt of an order. I want to place an order. That will be the first thing. Number one is order receipt. A trading member basically receives a order from the client and enters it into the electronic order entry book. Now, number two is the entry into the trading system. After processing, the electronic order entry book basically transfers the order to the stock exchange's trading system, which looks into for the matching of that corresponding order. I told you, 100 shares for Reliance for 100 rupees. Again, on another place in the country, there is a person who is willing to sell 100 rupees, 100 shares for Reliance. Then only order gets matched. So entry into the trading system is being made. Number three, if in case the match gets completed, then the trade is said to be confirmed as soon as the order is matched by the corresponding order by another trading member. Then what's going to happen is you need to pay the margins. So after the confirmation of orders, the trading members should pay the margins like mark-to-market margin, volatility margin, which is collected from their respective clients. Then purchase order is released finally. So adjusting margin, this margin is finally adjusted against the outstanding in case of settlement of the buy positions. And if someone is basically failed to pay, in that particular case of purchase order where the client fails to pay for the securities, the margin is used to take delivery and subsequently adjust the loss which has been incurred by squaring off the transaction. Then comes sale order. So the entire margin is basically refunded back along with the sale value of securities after the funds payout is received for securities delivered by the client. In case of failure to deliver the securities, the selling trading member should buy the securities and deliver the same to the buying trading member through auction. And if in case there are no bidders for selling the securities in an auction market, auction settlement, for any kind of particular auction script and quantity, then the original sale is closed out by squaring as per the rules of exchange. The margin is then used to adjust the loss on account of the difference between the buying price in auction and the price at which the security was originally sold. This is all about the sales order. Now moving on to the entry in books. What's going to happen in that case is all the transactions with each client should be cumulated for the entire settlement before passing the entries in the ledger. No entry is required to be passed by the trading member at the time of entering the order into the order entry book. Again, on execution of trade, no entry is required to be passed in the books of accounts. And if in case there are some of the defaults, like as usual, defaulters are always there. If in case default is being made, in case of any payout or pay-in defaults, the amount which is charged by the exchange or clearinghouse should be debited and collected from the client to the extent attributable to the default committed by the client itself. So this is all about the flow, that is the transaction flow of the stock exchange transactions, how it's going on. I hope you guys got the complete clarity with respect to each and everything which I made you understand over here. Shall we proceed further, guys? Let's move towards the next topic, and that will be BOA, that is Books of Accounts, Documents, required to be maintained by the member of stock exchange. Auditor's duties in this regard. This question was asked in CA final examination from November 1996. So, are you guys ready for this particular thing to be understood? So guys, there are some of the books of accounts, there are some of the documents which are required to be mandatorily maintained by the members of stock exchange. They can't deny with that fact. Okay. And the number 2 question is, what should be our duty as an auditor in that particular regard? So let's understand what all are the different, first of all, books of accounts and documents. Number 1, the ones which are being required by the statute itself. So member is required to maintain various books as per the SCRA Act and rule number 17 of SEBI. Number 1 is transaction register. I simply mean that by saying it Sauda book. So that's the transaction register, the daily transaction list. Then comes client's ledger and general ledger. Then journal and cash book. Then bank passbook. Then comes securities inwards, outward register for purchase and selling of shares and securities which are received and delivered. Members contracts books for all the contracts that have been entered into the system by him or her, as the case may be, with other members of the same stock exchange. Then comes counterfoils, duplicates of the contract notes which are issued to the clients, written consent of all the clients in respect of the contracts which are entered into as principals, margin deposit book, register of accounts of sub-brokers, agreement with sub-brokers, as, and the list is endless. That's so on. So all these things have been set as a requirement by the statute itself. So you need to maintain all the books of accounts in that case. Now moving on to the second part, that is requirement by exchange. So stock exchange also ask you for requirement of some of the BOAs and documents. So what all are they? Number 1 is the margin statements. You need to submit your margin statements each day to the persons on whose behalf you are trading. You have seen people, they daily receive some of the statements in their bank of account, demat account basically, to ensure that yes, something is going on in a healthy way and the company is basically taking care of your securities in a great manner. So this is something which has been mentioned by the exchange itself. So copies of all the margin statements which are downloaded from the exchange, copies of all the spot delivery transactions entered into by the people around, then client database, broker client agreement, copy of the registration certificate of each sub-broker issued by the SEBI, approval for each remiser given by the exchange, power of attorney, board resolution authorizing the directors and employees to get the signature of the contract notes, pool account statements. All these things are the one documents which are being mentioned by the statute, number 1, and this one was for the exchange. Why the exchange have expressly mentioned that they need to come and fulfill those things. So BOA and the documents required to be maintained by the member of exchange, these are the ones. Now coming to the third thing, which is the auditor's duty in this regard. So what should be your duty in this particular regard? Number 1, that a member should maintain specific separate kind of books of accounts, and they need to ensure that they are doing so. And if in case they are holding any kind of membership with any of the stock exchange or different stock segment, then they need to take care of it. Also, as an auditor, you need to ensure that the member should intimate to SEBI the place where the books of accounts, records and documents have been maintained. The books of accounts and other records should be maintained and should be preserved for a minimum of 5 years. All these things should be taken into account by you as an auditor. You need to examine whether manual and computerized accounting processes employed by the member and evaluate the various kind of controls and checks which have been incorporated therein. As an auditor, you need to do it. Then you need to assess the extent of computerization of the stock exchange, and at the member's end to determine the extent and depth of verification of that audit. See whether the member is maintaining all the prescribed books of accounts and they are up to date or not. Ensure that the member maintains separate books of accounts when he or she is a member of more than one stock exchange. They need to maintain separate books of account. That is something which is extremely important. And he is a member of more than one segment of the same stock exchange. Also examine whether the regulatory instructions, guidelines, rules have been complied with or not. So all these things should be taken care of if in case we talk about books of accounts and documents which are required to be maintained by the member of stock exchange, and about our duties and as auditor. I hope you guys got the complete clarity with respect to all these requirements as well perfectly. Shall we proceed, guys? Let's go ahead with the last topic of the day, and that will be the daily transaction register. That is the Sauda book. So what's gonna be included into the Sauda book? This question has been asked in CA final examination for November 2004. So let's understand first of all, what does daily transaction register actually mean? That's Sauda book, the meaning. So guys, it is a chronological record of all the transactions which are entered into by a member on a day-to-day basis, including containing some of the client's detail with the first particular, that is the name of the client, moving on to the code number of the client, then securities which are bought and sold on behalf of the client, rate, and finally the quantity of those securities which are bought or sold. This is about the meaning of daily transaction register. It is a chronological order of all the transactions which are entered into by a member on a day-to-day basis. Now, moving on to the second part, that is the nature of transaction. What should be the nature of transaction in that case? So, number one, members own business on the exchange. That is number one transaction. Number two, members business on exchange on behalf of the other clients. You can do some of the business on your own behalf, and you can do some of the business on behalf of others as well. So members business on the exchange on behalf of other clients. Then comes members business with the clients on principal to principal basis. There is nobody who is working with as angel investor or agent in that particular case. The members business with the clients on principal to principal basis directly, no agents. Then comes members business with members of other stock exchange. That is also again something which will be included in daily transaction register. Then comes members business on behalf of the clients with members of other stock exchanges. And finally, the spot transactions. This is a kind of list which is exhaustive in nature, but still there are a number of things that can be covered in it. If in case you wish to, you can. So this was all about daily transaction register. It is a chronological record of all the transactions which are entered into by a member on a day-to-day basis. The nature of transactions which will be covered into these registers will be, if in case you are having any of your own businesses, you can mark the same for daily transaction register if you are doing so. If in case you are exchanging on behalf of some of the other clients, again that will be recorded under daily transaction register. If in case you are doing something on principal to principal basis and you are not inviting any of the agent to take care of it, still that will be covered under Sauda book. And then if you are having any of the dealing or transaction with members of other stock exchange or on behalf of the clients with members of other stock exchange, finally on spot transaction, on all these things, daily transaction register needs to be maintained. Sauda book needs to be filled properly in that case. This was the question which was asked in the final examination for November 2004. And I'm sure that you guys must have got the complete clarity on this front as well. Now, unlike to remember like each time, all you need to do is just revise the topic, because that is something which is extremely important for you to know. Perfect guys, I'll see you in the next presentation with the remaining topics of this particular chapter. Till then, I'll say thank you on behalf of the Edupedia world. Keep interacting via questions, queries and YouTube comment boxes. I will love to answer each one of your queries and grievances. Stay connected. That will help us in understanding your needs way better, guys. I'll see you in the next presentation with a lot more exciting topics. Till then, sayonara. God bless you all. Love you. Bye.